seemingly unmarked by the years, unless one examined the outer corners of her whiteless eyes, noting the lines there. Sand tracks, the Fremen of the desert called them. Steam wafted from the pot as she lifted the lid by its Hagar emerald knob. He could tell the coffee wasn't yet ready by the way she replaced the lid. The pot, fluting silver, female shape, pregnant, had come to him as a ganima, a spoil of battle won when he'd slain the former owner in single combat. Jameis, that had been the man's name. Jameis. What an odd immortality death had earned for Jameis. Knowing death to be inevitable, had Jameis carried that particular one in his hand? Cheney put out cups, blue pottery, squatting like attendants beneath the immense pot. There were 3 cups, one for each drinker, and one for all the former owners. "It'll only be a moment," she said. She looked at him then, and Paul wondered how he appeared in her eyes. Was he yet the exotic off-worlder, slim and wiry but water-fat when compared to Fremen? Had he remained the Usul of his tribal name who'd taken her in Fremen town, while there'd been fugitives in the desert? Paul stared down at his own body. Hard muscles, slender, a few more scars, but essentially the same despite 12 years as Emperor. Looking up, he glimpsed his face in a shelf mirror. Blue Fremen eyes, mark of spice addiction, a sharp Atreides nose. He looked a proper grandson for an Atreides who died in the bull ring, creating a spectacle for his people. Something the old man had said slipped then into Paul's mind. One who rules assumes irrevocable responsibility for the ruled. You are a husbandman. This demands at times a selfless act of love, which may only be amusing to those you ruled. People still remembered that old man with affection. And what have I done for the Atreides name? Paul asked himself. I've loosed the wolf among the sheep. For a moment, he contemplated all the death and violence going on in his name. "Into bed now," Cheney said, in a sharp tone of command that Paul knew would have shocked his imperial subjects. He obeyed, laid back with his hands behind his head, letting himself be lulled by the pleasant familiarity of Cheney's movements. The room around them struck him suddenly with amusement. It was not at all what the populace must imagine as the Emperor's bedchamber. The yellow light of restless glow globes moved the shadows in an array of coloured glass jars on a shelf behind Cheney. Paul named their contents silently. The dry ingredients of the desert pharmacopoeia. Unguents, incense, mementos, a pinch of sand from Siege Tabur, a lock of hair from their firstborn, long dead, 12 years dead, an innocent bystander killed in the battle that had made Paul Emperor. The rich odour of spiced coffee filled the room. Paul inhaled, his glance falling on a yellow bowl beside the tray where Cheney was preparing the coffee. The bowl held ground nuts. The inevitable poison snooper mounted beneath the table waved its insect arms over the food. The snooper angered him. They'd never needed snoopers in the desert days. "Coffee's ready," Cheney said. "Are you hungry?" His angry denial was drowned in the whistling scream of a spice lighter hurling itself spaceward from the field outside Erechim. Cheney saw his anger though, poured their coffee, put a cup near his hand. She sat down on the foot of the bed, exposed his legs, began rubbing them where the muscles were knotted from walking in the still suit. Softly, with a casual air which did not deceive him, she said, "Let us discuss Irulan's desire for a child." Paul's eyes snapped wide open. He studied Cheney carefully. "Irulan's been back from Wallach less than 2 days," he said. "Has she been at you already?" "We've not discussed her frustrations," Cheney said. Paul forced his mind to mental alertness, examined Cheney in the harsh light of observational minutiae, the Bene Gesserit way his mother had taught him in violation of her vows. It was a thing he didn't like doing with Cheney. Part of her hold on him lay in the fact he so seldom needed his tension-building powers with her. Cheney mostly avoided indiscreet questions. She maintained a Fremen sense of good manners. Hers were more